Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave original presented by Perplexity. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. It is that time of the week where we have a guest join us, coming to us live from Jenkins and Jonez. Check him out on Patreon. My man Tyler, what's going on, brother?
My guy, always good to be back, man. Appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man, I'm getting used to using your name in public. I've been so dedicated to keeping your identity a secret. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I ain't even realizing you just been blabbing on yourself, but I'm not used to it. You know what I'm saying?
Listen, dog, like people act like I was like, I think there are some folks on the internet who are hiding shit, but that was never me. I was just like, one of my favorite rap lines ever is Jadakiss, tell you what I want you to know, fuck what you ask me. You know, right. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, I've never just been someone who's hiding. Like if we're talking money and if it's time to get out here and put my face and my name out there to get the bag, of course I'm with that, bro. I ain't got shit to hide. But
I wish none of y'all knew my actual name. I wish I had made up a name before and I would have written it out completely. Like I do this for everybody else because I wish. But we got NBA Finals. We got a couple things in the world of pop culture. We got the Jason Kidd situation to talk about. But before we get there, let's start off with the Pacers and the Thunder, NBA Finals, Game 3 coming up Wednesday night. Tyrese Halliburton has not really brought it. I think that's fair to say. But I don't really want to talk about the basketball of it. I talked about that the last time I had a show. Have you noticed that there's been this proliferation on the internet? And I kind of feel bad for the Pacers and the Thunder that they seem to have been the motivating factor. But I've read 2 different articles about basically the death of cool in the NBA and how the NBA ain't really got nobody cool in it. And that may be hyperbolic to a degree. There may be a couple of dudes, but none of those dudes play for the Pacers or the Thunder.
Yeah. Yeah. Halliburton, he made a lot of noise recently when he got voted the most overrated player in the league in that players poll by The Athletic. And, lending to your point here, I've said that him getting that award, it is just players mad that a dorky dude like him is busting their ass all the time. Like that's all that is right there. Right. So, I completely get the whole aesthetic of how we want things to be cool, because when we were growing up, basketball players were cool as shit, right? Like Michael Jordan had the kids call it aura today, but that dude really had an aura where he walked different. He, when the camera shot to him in like a suit coming into the tunnel, you felt like you were getting unreleased footage of like Bigfoot in the wild, right? Because, the aura around that dude was just so incredible. And then, of course, the era after him, we had Allen Iverson, who was perhaps the coolest basketball player of all time. You know what I mean? We had guys like Kobe, who for sure had a like cult following behind him. And it seems like that's missing a bit today in today's NBA. And I don't want to be the old guy, calling a bunch of 25-year-olds uncool. You know what I mean? Because that's not my call to make. The days of me, dictating what's cool have long bypassed me. But yeah, I can completely understand how people have a concern like, bro, where is the guy whose presence is just as big off the court as on the court?
All right, so let's be clear. No matter the age, cool when you see it, right? Mm-hmm. And we've known who cool young dudes are. Like, look, I agree with you on one hand. We don't want to be the old dude saying the 25-year-olds are not cool, right? But there's been a generation between these young dudes and, like, I'm trying to think who I would say is like the proper step below, right? I keep it above, like keep it in mind that Karl Anthony Towns in his 10th year in the NBA. I'm not using him as an example of a cool person. I'm just telling you that's like, these are the gaps and graduations that we have in the league right now. We've seen cats who's younger than us that we would identify as cool. We've been there, but it's been a gradual process, this decreasing of cool dudes in the NBA. Like there were dudes like, for example, I think I've used this example on the show before, but Rod Strickland to me is a great example of a type of player with a type of vibe that you just don't see anymore. Rod Strickland not going to Hall of Fame. Rod Strickland was a cold beast, but Rod Strickland's not a dude that's going into the Hall of Fame. Rod Strickland, for you younger cats, is Kyrie Irving's godfather. And if you want to see the influence, like where Kyrie's game, where it comes from, go pull up a YouTube clip of Rod Strickland. Kyrie is the next level of the evolution of a dude with the kind of game that Rod Strickland has. In fact, Kyrie has he might be the most on-court cool cat that we got. It just so happens that off the court, that guy. But on the court, he had all the cool. But like a dude like Rod Strickland, you see that cat walk on the floor or just dribble the ball, and you're just like, oh, that dude right there is cool. Like, I don't need you to be John Shaft necessarily, but some cats just have it in the way that they carry it, where you're just like, oh, there's something different about this one. And for whatever reason, that isn't coming through. I have a theory, though. I'll run this by you. Now, this will make me sound real old. Now, I'm more comfortable with sounding real old than you are. I've made my peace in this. You know what I'm saying? I sat down on the train the other day when there was some free seats and there wasn't really no free seats. And I decided I was too old to be standing and letting one of these children get down there. I earned that seat. You know what I'm saying? That's where I am. But anyway, I've been reading all these books about how terrible the internet is. And one of them made the point, and the example they were making was about coffee shops all over the world. And that with the presence of Instagram, everybody knows what a coffee shop is supposed to look like now. And so the guy was talking about that as he traveled around the world and he would look for coffee shops, all the coffee shops kind of had the same decor. The characteristic I could point out that people would probably most readily relate to is like the industrial look on the inside with the brick wall over there, right? And then maybe there's an Instagram wall over here with some pictures or whatever, or colors. But everywhere he went, the algorithm rewarded you for having a coffee shop that looked, quote unquote, like a coffee shop. And therefore, everybody was making their coffee shop look the same because that was the way that it would get promoted, because the algorithm knows that that's what people want, right? It happens in music also, where we haven't really, the last time we had like a real new movement in music, we can't point to, in part because everybody already knows everything that's going on, which is to say that everybody already knows the answers to the test. And nobody's trying to play the wrong answer to the test. And part of being cool is being willing on this essay test to hit the teacher with some shit that she ain't never thought of before. Not even the answer she was looking for, but to flip it, right? Like, nah, I'm going to say something else. I gave you some game though, right? And you get the A that way. As long as everybody has access to everything and everything that everybody else is doing, it takes so much more to be on your own shit. Like Allen Iverson was at once on his own shit while also representative of what was going on, right? Like it was a very interesting middle ground. But it was also he's from a very insular place. That man ain't really know nothing that was going on outside of what they call them, the 7 cities, which is, city is doing a lot of work. But he didn't know what was going on outside of that. You know what I mean? So it's like a world has been created where these dudes know too much. They know too many memes, right? Like Tyrese Halliburton hits that shot in Madison Square Garden. He knows to do Reggie Miller. Jason Tatum wins a championship. He knows to do the Kobe Bryant thing with the jacket and all this stuff because everything is a throwback as opposed to something new. And it's got to be cool. It's either got to be new or you got to be going back where nobody else goes. Like when Snoop was going back to the 70s stuff when he first dropped, wasn't nobody really doing that though.
Yeah. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And, you were talking about how Kyrie is one of the coolest guys on the court, but the off-court stuff is like, I don't know. I think Ant Edwards is sure in that category too.
Yes.
With the same dynamic where it's like cool as hell on the court. I think he's the best interview in the NBA. And, lending to what you said, he is a very particular type of Southern guy where it's like, he's 24 acting like this and I've got 60-year-old uncles who act the same way like this. Yes. Like I remember when he said bring your ass and I saw Minnesota running with that. I was like, nah, Minnesota, you can't run with that. That is Southern shit right there. Like that is deep South Georgia shit right there. You know what I'm saying? So it hits on to what you said about how everything seems a bit contrived. And I for one, I wasn't mad at the Halliburton celebration. I think that was more of him paying homage and trying to establish his own moment, because if there's any time to pull the choke gesture, when is a better time than when you pull up a 20-point comeback in MSG with Reggie on the call, right? I thought that was more homage than him trying to mark out his own moment. But with Jason Tatum, bro, he was on that championship tour all summer looking for a viral moment. And he, like you said, he was just calling back to Kanye's VMA speech, the guess we'll ever know, type deal. Like it goes back to what you said about how like, the culture of cool, not only in just the NBA, just in media and mass media, period. There's no new intellectual property, it seems like. It seems like everybody is relying on what's already been done.
Right. Have you watched The Studio on Apple Plus, the Seth Rogen joint?
I haven't. I've heard great things about it, though.
Okay. So I feel like I can tell this and it doesn't ruin it, right? Because it comes up so early in the season. But a running theme in the movie, or in the show, is about making a movie about the Kool-Aid Man. Because they have got the intellectual property for the Kool-Aid Man. And so it's the whole thing. It's a big part of the season is who's going to play the Kool-Aid Man and everything off of the Kool-Aid Man. Because the idea is, well, we have this IP. And if you walk in the door with IP, like everybody's looking for something proven. And that's a corporate mentality. But I feel like the internet and the social media stuff in particular has trickled the corporate mentality down to people in a way that is much different. This is a contributing factor, for example, or maybe this is more reflection, what I'm about to point out, but how much rap fans talk about how much their favorite artist sells, right?
Yeah.
That is corporate thinking. The social media, it allowed famous people and corporations to act like they were regular, right? But in return, regular people started acting like they were brands and like they were corporations themselves, right? And so it comes in the middle. Now, I've seen this point also mentioned. I think my buddy mentioned this online, but I'm not sure, so I don't want to put him out there if it's just something he and I talked about with each other. But the NBA in particular, Nike did a lot in creating their cool people or creating their stars, to the point where when Penny Hardaway didn't have enough of a personality, they went and created one for him in the name of an alter ego that, by the way, feels a little uncomfortable when you go back and listen to it.
It feels real Tales from the Hood.
When nobody there to be like, hey, yo, Chris, you ain't got to go that far, dog. Chill out. White people can hear you. Like nobody was there to be like, hey, you doing the most. But Nike, the legend of Michael Jordan as cool comes from Nike. And I don't know how much this comes down for the young people to understand the specific branding and image of Charles Barkley and what it was. A league could not create that. Like Charles Barkley was a lovable anti-hero, but an anti-hero nonetheless. The league couldn't create that. Reebok and their role with Iverson. The league made Iverson a bigger star by trying to whitewash what it was. He was so dangerous that the NBA had to try to shut it down. And then Reebok was like, no, we gonna build it back up. Like I don't know if you and I have talked about this, but people miss in the face of the NBA conversation. The league don't choose the face of the NBA. We decide the face of the NBA, and we decided it with Allen Iverson. Forget about who does this, who does that, whatever it is. No, for better or worse for the league, Allen Iverson became that, but it was because of the magnetic quality that he had. The shoe companies ain't good at that anymore, bruh. Like, you go look at them I understand it's New Balance, right? But even still, those New Balance ads, y'all ain't making nobody in them commercials seem no kind of cool. Nike hasn't had a person that they've really made or like a truly stick to your ribs ad campaign, not even for LeBron, in who knows how long.
You're 100% correct. Like, the advertising is for sure failing these young men as well. But at the time, I don't know if the star power is there for that too, right? Because one of my favorite basketball commercials ever is the Reebok commercial where they flip the basketball bouncing and the sneaker squeaks into a beat and had Jadakiss rapping over there for the new Iverson sneakers. That is one of my favorite basketball commercials ever. I was just reminded recently about a commercial to push the Jason Kids in 1995, where you had this what I'm about to tell you is just unfathomable in 2025. They had Jason Kidd playing in like an open run, in slow motion. They were highlighting it all and zooming in on the kicks and all. And they had KRS-One rereading Gil Scott-Heron's "The Revolution Will Not Be Televised." Right?
Yes.
Like that is just something that I just do not see happening in 2025's landscape, because so much of this has been like commercialized and commodified, and it's just cool is you cannot commercialize cool. You can, if you find cool, you can put it out there and blast it out there and make some cash of it for sure, but you cannot manufacture it. You know what I mean? And I just do not see any of these kids that have that same cool that like a guy like Iverson had. Like, Iverson just might have been a once in a lifetime moment, bro. And I'm glad we got to witness that shit in real time.
Well, you raised a really good point there, I think, in talking about whether or not whether or not the players are providing the raw materials.
Yeah.
Right? Like, are the players coming in cool enough? And I think, again, this is beyond just the NBA, right? Like, I think that this is a broader cultural issue, the widespread death of cool that seems to be happening. But with the players, the theory that I've had, and I'd love to see this hypothesis tested a bit, is that with a lot of these kids, like being taken out of like their schools, for example, and being sent to these places just like to become basketball players, I feel like cool is cultivated in your community. And part of what allows these dudes to be cool is because you the cold dude on the basketball court, you can get away with whatever you want, right? Like Cam Newton, what he wears is what he wears, and I would never do it. But I do love the fact that we still got somebody out here willing to dress like a weirdo because he can pull it off. I wouldn't do it. This cat is out here wearing jerseys with bow ties, but I can't say he in a Smokey the Bear hat. But I can't say he's not pulling it off. He can it don't look like nothing I want to wear, but he can walk in the room and you look at him and listen to him talk. Shit, man, didn't them dude try to fight him while he was out there wearing that Smokey the Bear hat?
Dog, I just that it was like 4 dudes trying to fight him and he didn't break a sweat at all.
That's right.
Like, look, I like when that footage surfaced of him reuniting with Luke Kuechly during the Super Bowl, and Luke Kuechly like came up to here on him, and Luke Kuechly is one of the baddest linebackers we've ever seen in life. I was like, bro, this dude is different, dog. But yeah, Cam Newton has like established his own. He's like his own fashion house, dog. Like the house of Cam Newton. There's no one in the world, especially not in sports media, that dresses like that dude, bro.
Yep, but he can pull it off. And so I saw a discussion being had about whether or not the NBA has made a mistake in promoting players over teams. And I don't think that they have made a mistake in that regard. I think it's fair to raise the question whether players are holding up their end of the bargain. Like the NBA doesn't really have enduring franchises like that. It doesn't have football. Again, this isn't football. Football can do that in a different way. The players don't mean as much in football. The players mean just about everything in basketball. The players, however, have to hold up like their end of the bargain in terms of this. But I wonder how this all goes for the NBA now that it's in its era of parity and that having that guy doesn't matter as much. Because I think another thing, and I realize I'm rambling a little bit when I make this point, but it just dawned on me and I think it's worth mentioning. I think a big difference between now and before is you could have a favorite player back in the day that wasn't a star. That was just that dude that was on the squad, and for whatever reason, you liked him or whatever it is. Like, there was a dude that used to play for the Rockets. I don't even know if anybody else remembers him, but there was this cat named Derek Chivas. And Derek Chivas went to Missouri. And Derek Chivas used to just scream all the time for no goddamn reason. Like, Derek Chivas would dunk and go, ah! And it's just like Derek Chivas could be your guy because he was the one to do that. The way that people talk about Andrew Toney, for example. Andrew Toney was not going to be a Hall of Famer necessarily, but he was your guy just because you liked his game or you just like something about his get down. There are all kinds of dudes around. Rod Strickland is an example of a guy that we would talk about. Rod Strickland could be somebody's favorite player without being a perennial all-star. Your guy could be, they just felt like there were more levels to what it was that people liked. And this is not to dog what's going on now, but I think for me at least, it's to raise more questions about how exactly it is that we got to this place.
Yeah. You know, going back to your Rod Strickland point, like Nature, you know, member of the firm, for those who might not be familiar, he had one of the best sports lines of rap to me, where he said, "I went to games as a Knicks fan. They had Strickland. They traded him. Ever since then, son, I hated him." And that leads to your point about how we had these attachments to guys who just weren't superstars, but they meant something to us on a certain, you know,
Charles Oakley. Anthony Mason. The Knicks was a squad full of them dudes. It was Patrick Ewing and a bunch of guys that you might have fucked with for whatever reason.
Yeah. And to your point about how there's been a whole lot of parading, like you said, about people saying, well, this is what happens when the NBA promotes players over teams. The NBA, that is looking at things through an NFL scope, where you can look at the NFL and say that there's like 6 or 7 teams that legitimately have a quote unquote nation, right? Like, you know, the Raiders have a nation, the Packers have a nation, the Steelers have a nation, right? You can say the 49ers probably have a nation. Bro, the only team that you can legitimately say that about in the NBA is the Lakers. Like this, you can't even convince me the Celtics have a nation. You know what I mean?
The Celtics are a little bit, but you're right. It's really the Lakers.
Yeah, it's really just the Lakers, bro. And that's And that's how the NBA has always been marketed. It has always been players. Like when Magic and Bird revived the league, it wasn't, yes, they're renewing the great rivalry of the Celtics and Lakers. No, the flashy black guy in Los Angeles versus the white blue collar guy in Boston.
Yes.
Like that's what we want, you know?
And I would say this for the NFL, 20 years of the Patriots. That was about Tom Brady.
Yeah.
The Patriots never became a national television draw because they were always good. But it did not become everywhere you go, the Patriots are drowning out the home fans. Mm-hmm. They're not the Cowboys. Oh, yeah. You forgot when talking about nations.
yeah, the Cowboys for sure. But yeah, I mean, the Cowboys are probably the most followed sports team in the country. They're terrible. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a different dynamic there. Yeah, it's just interesting that everyone points to the NFL, and bro, that is a model that cannot be duplicated. We just need to throw that out the window. The NFL is a one-of-one dog.
They play one game a week, man. Like, they play one game a week. It's kind of the nature of the in and out of personnel. You know what I'm saying? Like, all of those things. It's a lot of that. I just want cool cats make the world go round, right? Like, there's a real value in having somebody that's just cool and magnetic. And that was the thing about Anthony Edwards, is that he is legitimately magnetic. He has that level of charm about him. It would be different if he was the cat. Like, it doesn't go to that next level where he's the dude like Mike, where, like you said, if Mike sported something, everybody, that The Last Dance came out and Mike was wearing that Coogee suit, and we wanted to wear that Coogee short set. You remember that?
Yep.
And we was ready to wear the set again ourselves. Nike had to put it out with their branding on it. Because if Mike did it, that was what it was. That was what Sonny Vaccaro said when he signed Mike. He was like, you just don't get it. He was like, he's this, he's that. If he wears it, it looks good, and you want to wear it, even though you know it won't look like that on you. He just had that. Like, I understand all these young cats who think that, like, I wasn't even a big Jordan fan. They think that this is all nostalgia in the way that we talk about Mike. And it's like, nah, bro, they was talking about this when it happened. I'm telling you, like, that dude is just a little bit different. That level of cool, LeBron didn't quite have. Like, LeBron has his own thing, right? It's not that he doesn't have a vibe. It's not that he doesn't have an aura, but it ain't like that. That's the hardest thing for LeBron to overcome in the discussion, to be fair to him, is you ain't necessarily want to be like LeBron. You just really appreciated it.
Yeah. I mean, the man was hawking his own cologne. Like, he was so cool. He was so cool that the suits, figured out, maybe he's so cool, maybe people even want to smell like this guy.
Yes.
Right? And I feel like that was a whiff, though. I feel like we all called bullshit on that one, because I feel like we smelled that shit. We were like, nah, this ain't it, dog. That's one of the few times MJ whiffed, bro.
That is correct. But here's the thing. We rejected the cologne.
Yes, not the notion.
Did not reject the idea.
Absolutely.
Of the cologne.
Absolutely. We went in there ready to smell like Michael Jordan, and that shit smelled like doo-doo water. No.
It was also, in fairness to Mike, the cologne market was real tough around there. Cool water. Snoop had the cool water running the streets.
Yep. Snoop's Lottie Dottie cool water drop. They need to get that man some stock for that, because, bro, I feel like that turned a whole generation onto that shit.
Brother, I was going to school with so much cool water on. It was like bath water. It was the water in the washing machine. I was washing my clothes in cool water.
Yeah. And it was at a very affordable price point too. It was like $40 for like the big boy bottle.
They had the cool water, had the Fahrenheit, you know what I'm saying?
I had the Polo Sport, the Jupe, and the CK1. The CK1 was a moment for fragrances in the mid-90s.
It was. I didn't do the Jupe. The Jupe, it just seemed so ridiculous as an idea to me. I could not get around on the Jupe.
It's very Crown Royal velvety bag, Uncle Kango fragrance. Yes.
The Curve came around.
Curve was a monster. Curve was one of those colognes where I didn't see the big deal, but the woman loved it, so I was like, okay, we rolling with Curve tonight.
Curve did it. And then you reach that point in your life where you get hip and you find out that the oil man at the kiosk, at the mall, or at the flea market had the exact same for more affordable prices, and you could put it with your lotion and thereby distribute it a little bit more smoothly.
Yep. I remember going into that scene, like the cool water oil. I was like, okay, I've got cool water. Let me see this. And I was like, oh, hold up, you might done did something. You know what I'm saying? Like hold up, let me give you my $3 for a 3-month supply right quick.
Man, you never run out of that shit, man.
Yeah.
Like, for you to run out of it, you was defeating the purpose, man.
Yeah.
But coming up next, we got something really interesting going on with Jason Kidd, and I'm going to ask Tyler why he bothered to listen to the Carter 48. This show is brought to you by Perplexity. Perplexity is an AI-powered answer engine that searches the internet in real time to give you fast, high-quality answers with sources. Unlike legacy search engines that respond with a list of links, Perplexity skips straight to the answers you need, explained in easy-to-understand, everyday language with sources and citations.
That's right, Bo. We use Perplexity all the time to look things up, confirm things. For example, last week we used it to look up Rick Carlisle's playoff record, and since 2011, not great.
Discover fast and reliable search with Perplexity today. Download the app or ask Perplexity anything at perplexity.ai. The NBA Finals are finally here, and this is your last shot to win some real cash before the season ends. The simplest way to get in on the action? Downloading the Pick 6 app from DraftKings. It's crazy simple. Just pick more or less on the stats or 2 or more of your favorite players, and boom, you're in the mix for big cash prizes. Nail your picks and you're heating up. Pick 6 brings upside with payouts up to 500 times. You ready to make your finals run? New DraftKings Pick 6 customers can toss in just $5 on your first entry, and you'll get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now and use code BOMANI. That's code BOMANI. New customers play $5, get $50 in bonus picks instantly. Ride the upside, only on DraftKings Pick 6. The crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org in Connecticut. Must be 18 plus, age and eligibility restrictions vary by jurisdiction. Pick 6 not available everywhere, including New York and Ontario. Void where prohibited, 1 per new customer. Bonus awarded as non-withdrawable Pick 6 bonus picks that expire in 14 days. Limited time offer. Terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos.
Making money moves should be easy, and that's why there's Cash App. It's fast, safe, and honestly just way more personalized than other apps out there. No extra hoops to jump through, no extra stress. All of the tools are right there to help you cash in. Plus, sending money with Cash App actually feels safe. They look out for you. If something seems sketchy or they see you might be sending money to a potential scammer, they'll warn you and make you think twice before you hit send. It's like having a personal bodyguard for your cash. You can even spice up your payments with custom text, stamps, and backgrounds. Because why should paying your friend for brunch be so boring? If for whatever insane reason you don't already have Cash App, just download it from your phone's app store. Sign up, enter our code BOMANI in your profile, and send $5 to a friend, and you'll get $10 just for getting started. For a limited time only, new Cash App users can use our exclusive code to earn some additional cash. For real, there's no catch. Just download Cash App and sign up. Use our exclusive referral code BOMANI in your profile and send $5 to a friend within 14 days, and you'll get $10 dropped right back into your account. Terms apply. That's money. That's Cash App. Let me tell you about ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle tough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's a buildup of this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for rough days after drinking. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make pre-alcohol your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Summer is here, which means more opportunities to celebrate the warm weather. Before that backyard barbecue brew, glass of Pinot watching the sunset at the beach, or cocktail by the campfire, don't forget your ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol. Drink one before drinking and wake up feeling great and ready to take on the next day and all that summer has to offer. Go to zbiotics.com/Bomani to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you see Bomani at checkout. ZBiotics is back with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund you your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/Bomani and use the code Bomani at checkout for 15% off. All right, we are back with Tyler, a.k.a. Dragonfly Jones, and you are a former Knicks fan. You came back around to the Commandos because of Jaden Daniels. This last thing ain't make you come around to the Knicks? Did you come back?
I mean, a big part of why I came around to the Commandos was because they got Snyder up out of there. Dolan's still true. At the Knicks, so that's kind of where I'm still pumping the brakes on this.
Okay,
but
that raises hold on. You hit it right on the nose, though. We're going to go with that. That's where it is, right? Because we are now in the middle of a great Jim Dolan situation. First of all, the Knicks, another team without a single cool person on it since they traded my man Dante. Dante was carrying cool for the whole operation when you go back and think about it, man. They ain't got no cool cats, and they got him out of there. They got him out of there and brought Carl in, right? Yeah. Like, that was a huge, huge deficit trade for them. When it came to the cool, right? Yeah, but anyway.
Yeah, Dante is cool shit. That clip of him coming back to MSG and talking shit at the free throw line to Tibbs, like, you say I can't finish, right? And just sitting those free throws, like, that's Dante's cool motherfucker right there.
That's what I'm saying. But, okay, so the Knicks fired Tom Thibodeau. Understandable. Even if we wouldn't have done it, I get it. They made the trade.
Would you have fired Thibodeau?
I would not have fired him for the reasons that they seem to fire him. Well, no, I would have fired him for the reason they seem to fire him. Well, my buddy Vinny had a good report at Yahoo about this. Jim Dolan sat in on the exit interviews. Jim Dolan was coming in to fire him, basically. And he asked the question in the exit interviews. And I wonder if the players really felt the ways that they said, or they knew that this was the answer that the boss had. But there were guys that were like, players typically decide when a coach gets fired. And it sounded like a lot of the players had enough with him. It is a difficult thing to fire a coach, though, after your greatest success in God knows how many years. Like, it's not necessarily a great look, but I've said this on this show many times. I could come up with a reason to fire anybody. If I want to, you could come up with the reason, right? But it looks like Jim Dolan wants to hire Jason Kidd. And if you know anything about James Dolan, Jason Kidd seems like the kind of guy that he would want to hire. Okay, this is all over. Because, hey, say what you want about Jim Dolan, boy. That man done made fortunes for black people. Good gracious. As coaches in particular, Jim Dolan, I don't know if he agrees with the Robert Sarver philosophy on these matters. You may remember the Robert Sarver quote. But it sure seems like it.
These
but
brothers
anyway,
need a brother for
yes, that's right. That is right. Like me like.
That is just one of those incredible quotes that came from a terrible person, and it's like, why did you we needed the person you're saying was needed here to say this quote.
And for those of you who don't know, when Baxter Holmes did his kind of expose into the racism of Robert Sarver when he owned the Suns. And by the way, this happens a lot with racist people who own teams. And we're talking about hiring a coach for the squad. And he said these N-words need an N-word, which none of us like the language, but all of us knew what he was saying. Yeah. And many of us can say that maybe in that case he had a point.
And the important distinction is he didn't go hard ER on it.
Correct.
Right? That's a very important distinction, because that's such an incredible quote. If it would have came from James Johnson or someone in there, dog, you know what I mean? But
it's basically what Brad Stevens realized. Brad Stevens was like, they need a new voice. And the new voice that they got was Ime Udoka, who, if you subscribe to the theory that those thems need a them, Ime Udoka is central casting exactly what you would say.
Yes, a dude who does not mince his words in the slightest.
No. And he that dude, right? So Jason Kidd, it seems, is the sort of guy that the Knicks want to hire. Of course, the problem is Jason Kidd already has a job. Now, I have 2 points I want to bring up on this, and I want to see what you think about them. Point number one, no way in the world, if you know anything about Jason Kidd is a political animal, and there was no way in the world that Jason Kidd was going to allow himself to go down with the ship with Nico after making that Luka trade. I don't know if he was or wasn't on board with it. It don't matter. Once it became clear that the streets was not on board with it, Jason Kidd's getting himself out of association with it. This right here, that right there, that was always a guarantee. Like, if you didn't see that coming, you have not been paying attention to the last 30 years of Jason Kidd. Point number two, I believe that when the talent says it's over, it's over. And so if Jason Kidd wants to get out of there, Nico would be wise to let him go, because otherwise Jason Kidd is going to make this real tough on you. You need to go ahead and let him go. But you don't let him go without some measure of compensation. Everybody understands that.
Yes.
What that means is there will be a negotiation where on one side is the dude who traded Luka Doncic for not enough. And on the other side will be Jim Dolan, who is a notorious overpayer if he wants something. See Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
Those two guys negotiating a deal? Ooh, I am intrigued.
Yeah, it's and for one, this doesn't disprove anyone who thinks that the Brunson family is running that organization, because Rick and Kidd had those Dallas ties there. Also is a lot of fodder for the conspiracy theorists who think they were going to make a go at Giannis. Giannis and Kidd, Kidd coach Giannis in Milwaukee. Giannis had an incredible story where he said he went home from practice one day pissed at Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd was on his ass that day. He said, "Who does this Jason Kidd guy think he is? Let me Google who this dude is." And he said he was blown away to find out how incredible Jason Kidd was, right? Like, yeah, Jason Kidd was a monster, as a basketball player, bro. Like that 2001, 2002 season when he went to the Nets and flipped them from a 26-win team to a 52-win team.
Yes. And
finished second to Tim Duncan, the MVP voter. He was my MVP that season. I understand people giving it to Tim, but that was an incredible season.
That season ruined Stephon Marbury's reputation forever.
Yeah. There's that too. He went to Phoenix and just became the empty stats guy after that.
But also, it was a 1-for-1 trade, and simply switching out Stephon Marbury, who was cold. Don't ever let anybody tell you otherwise.
Yeah, he was incredible.
But simply switching him out for Jason Kidd, they got 30 wins better.
Yeah. There were no other major tweaks to that roster other than Kidd for Marbury that year, and they won 30 more games. Yeah, really incredible. But going back to the Tibbs discussion, I think that getting Tibbs out of there was the right choice, man. I think that in this era, in the second apron era, the new CBA era, I think your windows are even smaller than they were before. And I think that when you've got the roster, when you've got a core that can win a championship, like that coach's hot seat gets even hotter if they can't produce. Every year matters now. If you got the roster that can contend for a championship and the money is working, every year is even more vital now, because it's going to come a day where that money doesn't work. And so I completely understand why they got Tibbs out of there.
Hold on. Do you think they have a roster that can compete for a championship? Because I don't think they do.
I do. I never looked at that roster during that Indiana series and thought they need another guy. They for sure need some more shooting. You can get MLE veteran minimum shooting. Everybody can shoot in today's league, right? They can get some more shooting. I do think that the whole point of your two best players cannot also be your two worst defenders, right? I think there's a case for that.
That's my issue.
I think there's a case for that. But at the same time, we saw Jokic and Jamal Murray run it up, and neither one of those guys are all-world defenders, to say the least.
Yeah, but neither one of these two guys is Nikola Jokic.
That is true. I think Cat is the second best center in the league, though, behind Jokic. I mean, is there agreements there?
Let's start.
I mean, the drop-off is huge for sure between Jokic and Cat.
Yeah. No, but I guess when you say that, because I thought Karl was really, really good this year. He's 24-12 and all of this stuff. But I'm trying to think of who else counts as a center in the league. That's where I'm, because I don't have an answer to say that you're wrong. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But let me ask you this. Because I think this raised an interesting question. Would you rather have Karl Anthony Towns over a healthy Porzingis?
I mean, the whole thing about that Porzingis run last postseason to help the Celtics lock that ring up is we'd never quite seen Porzingis play at that level before. And I don't think he's ever going to get back to that either.
Is Karl Anthony Towns better than whatever version of Joel Embiid still exists?
No. Then whatever version, hold on. That's a unique qualifier. Because
that's the question.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly what version we still have. Are we calling Anthony Davis a center?
He's a reluctant center who wants to play the
4.5. He's 4.5.
Yeah, he's a 4.5. That shit might have legitimately got him shipped out of LA. His reluctance to play the 5 too.
Let me tell you what got him shipped out of LA. Luka Doncic was on sale. That's what got him shipped out of LA. It's a Luka sale going on down there.
Yeah, it's dog. We are what? 5 months deep into the Luka trade. I still can't fucking believe it, dog. I don't think I ever will.
I still do, how it's going to end will be very interesting, and it's what gets us to the discussion we're in, right? It's what gets us to Jason Kidd is trying to bail, and see where I think Nico's in a trick bag. There is who you getting to take this job. Because it seems very clear to me that Nico Harrison is going to be fired as soon as it is politically expedient for them to do so. Mm-hmm. So, like, the guy who's hiring you is on thin ice. Who takes that job if they let Jason Kidd go? Like, so do you give Jason Kidd, call it $15 million a year, whatever it takes to keep him?
No, I think Jason Kidd wants out regardless, because I
agree.
He's a very smart man who has been in the NBA world for 30 years, and he knows how the chain of command goes once the firing happens, and he knows the head coach is the first guy on the chopping block before he gets to the GM. And yeah, I think that Jason Kidd wants out. I think he'd be a good fit in the Knicks. I think that he's a defensive minded coach. He's someone who, like we said, he's a straight shooter. Like, he was just flat out telling us, bro, Luka has to step his defense up. Like, he was flat out telling us that in ways where it wasn't throwing Luka under the bus. He's like, we've had these discussions before, and he knows if he wants to take the next leap, this is what he has to work on, right? So yeah, I mean, and I think the coaching job he did last postseason was incredible. I think that he hid a lot of the weaknesses of a defensively limited backcourt with Kyrie and Luka, and didn't turn that into something that teams could capitalize on and win on in the playoffs. So I would be interested to see what he would scheme up for Brunson and Cat. I think that he's a great fit for the Knicks, and I completely understand why the Knicks got Thibodeau out there, because like I said, in this whole second apron era, every year where the money works, bro, you have to work with an increased sense of urgency.
I think you make a move like that, generally, one of two things happens. One of them, somebody wants to fire you, and that seemed very clear to be the case. But the second part is, do you have somebody that you know you can get? And I think somewhere along the way, the Knicks feel like they know they can get Jason Kidd. And I tell you this, though, it's about to be a pressure-packed job. Ain't no, we got to ease this in. Ain't none of that going, dog. The people here expect things now. They just fired a coach that went to the Eastern Conference Finals, and you ain't been there in 20-something years. Like, this is going to be a thing.
Since the Larry Johnson 4-point play, since this moment, like, for 25 years, though. Yeah, but you know what? I for sure, I do not see why this move doesn't happen for all parties involved.
By the way, do you remember that I believe it was during that series, or maybe it was during the NBA Finals, something that gets forgotten, is that Larry Johnson, I believe, joined the Nation of Islam, or at the very least, he like pledged Sunni. Like, I don't remember exactly which, but he did one of those. And I think I associated with the Nation of Islam because he made some statement about like the black man working for the white man. I believe there may have been a plantation reference.
I do remember that. Yeah.
That was a time.
Yeah. I feel like we discussed this before. South Dallas dudes, dog, a different breed, bro. A different breed.
Yo, when is the last time that we had a big time athlete go online for Allah? Actually, I know who the answer to that is.
Would it be Abdul Rauf? Is that, like, I know his conversion, or with Kyrie
Irving? That's what I'm about to say. I just remembered the most obvious answer.
Yeah, Kyrie for sure.
Yo, let me tell you, not mentioning Kyrie, let me tell you something that happened to me the last time I was in Houston. So I went to Houston about a month ago. I did the commencement address at Prairie View, and they put me up downtown. And so we gotten back from doing the talk, and I'm just kind of walking around. Now, Houston's downtown. They've been trying to get it cracking for like 30 years. It's got stuff, but it's not cracking. So I'm walking around, and I come across this park. And I go to the park, and it felt like something that would have been on season 6 or 4, whatever would have been the next season of Righteous Gemstones, right? It was a bunch of black dudes, and they had blue t-shirts, and they were it felt like some bootleg version of the Black Israelites, right? Like, it was some homemade religious group, but none of the fellas looked like they was like, a couple of the fellas look really invested. The others look like they just trying to be there for the homie, but they not really down, right? Like, nobody, they didn't seem to be like really in it, but they were still doing it when they was over there. And one of them looked at me and was like, brother, you want to come over here? Nah, man, I don't want any parts of what y'all got going. Like, he had the microphone and he was spitting. Like, he wasn't aggressive like the Israelites are, but it seemed like he tried to start his own situation from the ground up. And I want to know what it was like when he went to get them t-shirts made, because I used to get t-shirts made. They ask you a lot of questions when you go in there to get t-shirts made, because they be curious. You know what I'm saying? Like, but it looked like they tried to start their whole clique. And I'm like, what does it take for you to decide that you're going to start your own sect?
They try to hit you with the mid-level marketing radicalization.
Yes.
The mid-level marketing indoctrination. That's bro. It's just, and the whole thing about like the Israelites is, bro, they are not out there to try to convert you. They are out there to tell you their beliefs, to fuck up your day more or less. Right? Like, I've never seen the Israelites on any corner in any city I've visited and be like, yeah, the Israelites are here. Thank God. It's always been like, oh God, these dudes.
Well, there's two levels of it, right? There's level one where they come dressed like the Qs, but then there's level two when they dress like Funkadelic.
They the Bootsy or LSU Shaq, right?
That's right. Look, man, I will never forget for the life of me when Kyrie was going through it with the vaccines and the Black Israelites pulled up to Barclays, said all deep, and Jaylen Brown sent the tweet, putting all for the Israelites, and everybody came down on him, and he was like, I'm sorry. I thought it was the Qs. And I don't know if he was telling the truth, but I can't say that he was lying.
That's the whole thing. Even if he knew they were Israelites, he picked the one flawless way to excuse himself. Like, all right, I guess Atomic Dog, Israelite, same thing. I can understand how the mistake was made here. Like,
that was it. Speaking of mistakes, you listen to the Carter Six. I did not listen to the Carter Six. I have not seen an album be panned this roundly since Raekwon's Immobilarity. That is the last time I saw such consensus disgust for one record. You listened to it. You said you had a reason.
I did. I felt, and the whole thing is, I've ignored Weezy's albums of the last few years. What he did was he called it the Carter Six. That's what got everyone invested, right? Like, there's a certain brand that he's established with the Carter, and we thought, okay, maybe he's putting the bullshit aside and is really locking in on this album. Like, for instance, I know you and I, we're both big Ghostface fans.
Yes.
When have you cared? The last time I cared about a Ghostface album was Big Doe Rehab 2006. I just got news this week that he's dropping Supreme Clientele 2 this summer. I'm going to be there at 12:01 a.m. on that Friday night, and I know you are too, Bo. Are you not?
Let me tell you the truth. I was not a big Supreme Clientele fan in real time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized it didn't make sense on purpose. It was kind of a Dadaist interpretation of rap. That's all I needed to hear. Because prior to that, I was like, but brother, this doesn't make any sense. Now it's like, yeah, you're right. All over it. So this is my thought. And I feel differently about Supreme Clientele because he's only coming back to part 2, literally 25 years after the first one, right? To me, the Carter Six was a bad sign. This dude ran out of so many ideas that he didn't even have an idea for a name of an album that did not bode well for the album that was going to be there. Number 2, by the time you get to part 6, we in Police Academy territory. You feel me? Like, that's the Police Academy and the Fast and the Furious. That's where we are. None of them have marks of quality. Like, that was the bad sign to me. But I saw somebody, I don't think they made this exact point. I can't remember who it was, but I think what I'm going to say was inspired by whoever said that first, or influence is probably the better way to put it. When you're a rapper who never really had a point, it's hard to age, right? Because at his best, Wayne is so incredible, but he didn't really have a point. And then he reached this point where his recording was one line at a time, just making sure that the bars were dope with one another. But that's no way to put together anything that actually has a point. And so now you in your mid-40s and you ain't got no point. You can't really be out here rapping like a young person. Like the cats that keep their raps going in their 40s are cats that then begin to rap like they're in their 40s, right? They have like a thing that they want to say. And I felt like with him, he had reached that point where he just doesn't, like, why do I care what Lil Wayne says about anything at this point in my life?
Yeah. It's stream of consciousness rap where the consciousness has been rapidly kind of deteriorating for like the last 20 years or so. But yeah, the thing about Weezy, and I feel like, I don't want to tear the dude down. I want to give him his flowers because I'm a huge Weezy fan. I think that, he's at the point now where none of this really matters. It's just discussion. His reputation, his legacy is cemented for me. I think that when I think about Lil Wayne, there's like a few things that come to mind in regards to his legacy. I think that Lil Wayne had the best second act in rap history. And I view the first act of his career, the 3 albums before Carter. Carter dropped, and that was a significant shift in Lil Wayne's career trajectory, right? I don't know if you can say that anyone had a better run than Lil Wayne. If we're bookmarking it at the Carter in 2004 and No Ceilings in 2009, I'm not sure if there's a rapper who had a better 5-year run than that. I also think
we limited that to Solo.
Just to the work output, because mixtapes play a huge part in Wayne's legacy as well, and also yes, just solo, because Wayne was flying solo at that moment. And also I think a sneaky thing is Lil Wayne is probably the second best teen kid rapper behind LL. Like, I
think that is absolutely correct.
Yeah, like if you bro, like his albums before Carter was his 4th album. And he was 22 when he made that. He made 3 albums, 2 group albums before he was even 20. Like,
he was 15 years old rapping with grown men, not as a kid. He just happened to be a kid.
Yes, exactly. One of my favorite verses, one of my favorite songs from Weezy is Millionaire Dream on Big Timers, How You Love That. And he's floating all over that motherfucker. The chorus that he's providing is incredible. The first time we hear him say Bling on record, I believe, too. And he's rapping about how he's only 15 in that verse. It is just an incredible performance, at all. Right? Yeah, because his parents ain't want that. But yeah, I think that hold
on, right fast. Let's just take a moment. It's okay to hand your kids over to Baby and Slim. Just don't have them out here cussing.
Hey, New Orleans is a different world, bro. I feel like it's an extremely different place. Yeah, and I don't know, the dynamic that Lil Wayne and Baby had, it was an interesting one to say the least.
But I think something else that this Wayne album deals with, and I'm curious what you think about this. When rappers drop, no matter how old they are, we expect heat. I tell you, like Rolling Stones put out Mixed Emotions in 1989. People are not expecting that to be Exile on Main Street. Right? Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, Stones put out another album. That's cool. Oh, there'll be a tour. That'll be cool too. No, we are expecting, if you choose to rap, we expect you to be as dope as you ever were.
Yeah. And the thing is, Wayne has shown some glimmers. Like, he's done some incredible work with West Side Gun. He had a song with Corday this year where he killed it. I feel like it's still there. Like, LeBron had that whole quote about how he's aged as a basketball player, where he's like, I can't get there every night, but I can get there when I need to. And it feels like Lil Wayne kind of still had that. And this was why probably like a lot of us tapped into Carter 6, and it was terrible. Carter 6 is horrible. Like, there's a track on there produced by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
I saw that. And I'm like, homie, come on, man. Like, I heard the joint he did the BET Awards on Monday night, the Welcome to the Carter joint. That one was all right, but then he came behind that with a milli because he knew he ain't had no other song that he should be doing. Now, I would make this suggestion to any, and look, Lil Wayne's a middle-aged rapper at this point. He's just not very tall. I would suggest to any middle-aged rapper that the way to do it at this point, well, number one is not with 19 tracks. I would advise against that. Mm-hmm. But one producer, man. Do like LL did with Q-Tip. That was a really, really, really good record. Go hold up with one dude. It ain't got to be a dude your age, like Nas with Hit Boy has been a great example, right? Yes. Go work with one person, get you something that's continuous or whatever. But this working with a million different producers, that's young hot dude shit. And you're not the young hot dude no more.
Yeah. The Clips are locking in with Pharrell for 13 tracks. And that Ace Trumpet single is some of the best work we've heard from them, bro. Like, Are you a fan of the Clips? I feel like I've never really kind of heard your take on them.
On another day, we'll talk about how you guys can have that. I understand why someone would love them, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if I was from a state that ain't really got no cities or no sports teams or that many rappers to discuss. Oh, my bad.
Yeah, I'm about to say, man, damn, that's me now. Those dudes are gods to me. You see, I got the Billionaire Boy Club hat right here.
Yeah,
like
they're y'all's UGK, right?
Yes.
Like, it's a very, not that UGK is the only rappers from the area, but it's a very particular sort of thing when you have that group that fills that role. But my thing with UGK is you can go album to album and they take on different personalities and different things that they're talking about, right? Now you can be like, well, what's the difference between talking about selling dope and pimping? A lot of difference, actually. And they navigated through that. The Clips' particular brand of cocaine rap does not do it for me. They are talented, but it's not. The thing I will give them, though, that I appreciate more than I didn't when I was younger was the role that Malice No Malice plays as the one who has a conscience, right? Like there's an emotional resonance to his presence that's very similar to the Pimp C. Pimp C has guilt. Pimp C has regret. Pimp C rues things. That was his criticism of Jeezy, is that Jeezy didn't rue anything about this. And the Clips give you that. But yeah, I see that they bring you guys so much joy, and I would never be the one to interfere.
Listen, bro, we are on the opposite ends of the spectrum about this. Like, even if I wasn't a VA dude, I think I would still be a huge Clips fan. I think they're just so good at rapping, bro. And that they're so good at rap. Like, Hell Hath No Fury, I think there's times I listen to that and I think this might be the best rap album of the 2000s, bro. Like, they are that good in my eyes.
I'll say the other part too. Nah, I don't feel like talking about this part right now.
No,
I just can't.
no. You already said your state ain't shit. You ain't got nothing to do besides listen to the Clips. Like.
You're right. I did. I don't love Pharrell as much as everybody else does.
Understand.
I don't, and I mean that in the sense that that's not Pharrell is whack. That's not Pharrell don't have dope shit, right? But the era of Pharrell, like when the Neptunes were the super heat, I liked my sound a lot more analog than what they were doing. Does that make sense? Like, yeah, that was my thing with them.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you've got to grab against Pharrell Neptunes, you probably hated how futuristic it sounds when everyone probably loves how futuristic it sounded.
Yeah, it wasn't bad, right? But it just wasn't like, even I go back now and I listen to some of the stuff that was the heat from the Neptunes back then. Like, to me, as an example, Super Thug didn't really age well. Like, when I go back and listen to that, and I liked that when it came out, but I'm like, yeah, no, it's just not for me, right? But I understand what it is to other people. Now, Pharrell, as the years have gone on, has done a lot of stuff that I'm like, oh man, like Pharrell did all right for Kendrick. That is not something that you would have told me in 2003 was on the card.
Yeah, like Pharrell tells a hilarious story about how when Michael Jackson reached out to him, he wanted him to executive produce his album, and Pharrell sent him the pack that would turn into Justin Timberlake's Justified.
Mm-hmm.
And he said Michael Jackson came back to him and said, "This isn't what I wanted. I wanted some Super Thug sounding beats."
Yes.
Michael Jackson on Super Thug production is just something that melts my mind. I can't even imagine that, bro.
Number one, I think I would rather the Super Thug version than the Justified Justin Timberlake version. I felt like we was been a little loose with the invites to the barbecue when it came to that space. But I think what I truly think happened with Mike though was, with Bad, which is a very, very, very good album. It had all kinds of hits and everything else. But Mike should have moved on from Quincy after Thriller. But why would you do that? It was after Thriller. And for the first time, he was a little bit behind the sounds of what was hip. Like, he went to Teddy Riley for Dangerous. That is an attempt to make the sound a little bit hipper. And I think that Mike had decided, because Mike, you got to remember, Mike at the end of the 90s is in his early 40s. So he's not really old. He's like, yo, man, give me what's hot in these streets right now. That's where I'm trying to get back to.
Yeah, he went to Teddy Riley for the New Jack Swing in 91 when Guy dropped their self-titled in 87. Like, he was for sure behind the curve. But I think it worked. Like, there's times I feel like Remember the Times might be the best radio single MJ gave us, even though it's for sure 3 or 4 years behind the curve. But yeah, for sure, someone who was
Dangerous got heat though.
It do.
Dangerous got Who Is It? Dangerous got In the Closet. Dangerous got Remember the Time. Dangerous got a few more. Like, Dangerous is. I think this happens with these records. A lot of those mid 90s Prince records are like this too. That when you listen to them separated from what the era was, they sound better because you're no longer thinking about them in comparison to what else is out. You know, like I think it gets there, but yeah, they might be like, nah, I want some of that gangster shit. And by the way, that means that Mike, when he asked for it, was not using the Mike voice that we were using. He used the real Mike voice. Some of that gangster shit. I'm from Gary. Fool.
Yeah, that Gary Indiana shit, that Freddie Gibbs shit.
Yeah, like, come on, cuz. Did I say cuz? Come on, cuz. You've seen that theory, huh?
Yeah, I saw someone tell a story where he was talking to some record execs on that How voice, and then he was like, "I'm glad these motherfuckers are gone," like a Barry White voice or some shit.
Yes. Man. Tyler, a.k.a. Dragonfly Jones. Check out Jenkins and Jones on Patreon. My brother, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, man. Always a good time when we chop it up, dog.
Yeah, we got a nice little range on this one. Like we hit some spots. I feel like this was some good podcasting.
Hell yeah, good 2-man weave going on right here.
That's what I'm saying. Keep the ball moving. And ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this 3 times a week. Ryan Brumley handling everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. And we'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.